At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Attention, you're listening to the Todd Huff Radio Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk radio. Be advised that the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. Here's your conservative, but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
Well, that is right, my friends. You have successfully tuned in here to America's home for conservative, not bitter talk. I'm your host, the one, the only, the ever so beloved. That's right. Listen to last hour. You know that I'm the dictator behind the microphone, the ever so benevolent dictator behind the microphone here. And it is my pleasure to be here indeed. Program brought to you in part today by my friends at Red, White, and Brand. Red, White, and Brand, my friends, is us, a division of the Todd Huff Show. As I've shared on here before, this business is a new business, a new division of the Todd Huff Show called Red, White, and Brand. But we had done this previously. We had another business that we sold back in 2019. That business, we had a 6-year non-compete, and we've relaunched. We've relaunched a business here called Red, White, and Brand that helps you put your logo on almost anything. Trade shows, promotional products, giveaway items, apparel, signage, you name it, my friends. Your logo on almost anything. You can go to Red, White, and Brand to shop some of the products that we can put your logo on. redwhiteandbrand.com. Promo code TODD will get you 10% off your order online, and you'll get free shipping included on online orders. redwhiteandbrand.com, promo code TODD. All right, so I said it in the last hour. I said one of the things that I want to do, one of the things that I think we're dealing with in this country today is kind of an information overload. I mean, we are, and I knew that this was going to be this way, and you knew this was going to be this way, a battle on multiple fronts, fighting multiple issues, multiple fronts, and, you know, the left plays for keeps. They do. I mean, to the radical left, government is religion. And in a sense, the people running that religion, whenever they are in when they share the ideology of the left, they become small g, but they become a form of a god. I mean, you look at how Obama was treated by people, and if you look at how politicians are looked to by the left to have all the answers. And I know that there's some who think Trump, it's interesting though to me. The left thinks their politicians have all the answers by solving everyone's problems. People in the MAGA movement thinks Trump has the answers, but not because he's going to solve everybody's problems, but because he's going to continue to allow people to solve their own problems. At least that's a difference, but there's certainly people who think that Trump is, I don't know if I'd say God, but I mean, look, people that think that maybe higher of Trump, not because he's Trump, but because he's a person, then maybe we should. But anyway, but the radical left, we knew that they're not going to cede an inch of ground without one heck of a metaphorical fight. They have gradually and consistently, insidiously over the course of 50 plus years gotten more and more control over this great nation, and they have driven this nation in many ways head first, nose first into the ground. And so that's not how they see it. Of course, they think they just need a little bit more control. They don't see their control. They don't see that the money that they're stealing from the economy to put into government that's not accomplishing its mission, they don't see that as the failure. They see it as, well, that's evidence that we need to take a little bit more money. We need to have a little bit more power, which of course is preposterous, but this is how the left thinks and operates. And listen, when you're asking somebody to fundamentally change their ideology, the way that they view life and the world, I mean, that's a big, big ask. That's a big, big ask. And so, I mean, think about it from your perspective. If someone said today, you need to, everything you've been taught about freedom and liberty, the Constitution, the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, religious freedom, all this stuff, what if they told you that it's bad, that, it needs to be turned on its head? And what if you would probably tune that out? Because, or if you did listen, it wouldn't be that you're listening to determine if they're right or not. You would be listening to figure out how to get them to see the truth and correct the error of their ways. And that's how a lot of leftists are. And so the situation is set, that the battlefield, the metaphorical battlefield has been set, and we're in for one heck of a battle. And it's been raging all over the place, right? Over this deportation, immigration, war in Israel, free Palestine, Israel, all this stuff, right? Trans agenda. Now we have people. Do you see? I got this in the stack of stuff. There's a headline. Let me back this out. I've got another article opened up here that I want to get to, that I want to play a clip from. But there's an article here. Here we go. Populist Times. I don't want to spend time talking about this. I just want to say that this is what the issues that we're fighting about today, and the things that are being excused, like the behavior of Senator Padilla, the behavior of other elected politicians who want to be arrested, who want to have an encounter with ICE. They want to have images, videos of ICE pushing them back. They want it to look like Trump is coming after them for being Democrats and everything else. And so all this stuff leads to things like this headline, which, again, this is in the stack of stuff on our website. But you don't have, I'm not going to talk about it now, but you can read about it on our website. Here's what it says. Illegal alien charged with attempted murder after allegedly chasing Trump's attorney with a knife. That's at the Populist Times if you want to go there directly. I thought, by the way, the left told me that first of all, undocumented people were less likely to be violent, which is a stupid thing to say. It violates everything that we know about everything, really, to say that a particular group of people are less likely to commit violent crimes because why? Because they came into this country undocumented, because that's why? Or is it because of their ethnicity? We have people coming from all over the world. I mean, what's the commonality? The only common factor is that they've entered the country illegally. Why would someone who enters a country illegally be less prone to violence than someone who was born in a country and just lives their life? It just doesn't make any sense to me. But this is the environment that's created and that we all have to live in and deal with on a regular basis. And we're playing for keeps. We're playing for keeps. I mean, there's a lot of, we're talking about wars and rumors of wars. For those of you who know, you know. We're talking about the economy, your livelihood. We've got AI back here in the background. Well, it's not really in the background. In some people's minds, it's still in the background. I use AI for a ton of stuff, and I'm just beginning to see the power. Let me encourage you, by the way, CEO of Amazon, Andy Jassy, warns employees. This is another headline in the stack of stuff. I'm just painting the picture of all the things that we're dealing with. Some of them are political, All of them have political connections or consequences or influences and everything else, but some of these things are just happening in the scope of the evolution of humanity. And no, I don't mean macroevolution. Evolution is one species evolving into another. I'm talking about how things change as humanity seeks to improve living conditions and the quality of life that we have here on this planet. Amazon CEO warns his employees that AI will reduce the company's workforce. I don't want to add to the list of things that you should be concerned about, but folks, I would say you should probably get familiar with AI. AI is going to replace some people's jobs, and the people who are going to stay and keep the well-paying jobs are going to be the ones who, there's always exceptions, right? There's always places where this won't apply, or it'll be 20 years down the road or something like that. I don't know. But you're going to have to at least know how to interface with and work alongside of AI. You're just going to have to know how to do that in many places, or it may replace you. So all this stuff vying for our attention. And of course, we got Iran. Are we going to be bombing Iran? Are we going to be, who knows what that's going to look like? Trump said, I did see a headline, Trump said he'll make his decision on Iran within 2 weeks. And by the way, that immediately when I read that, I thought, what's he trying to do? Is he going to, just put that out there in the mind of his enemy for a negotiation? Is he putting that out there to make them think that they have nothing to worry about for 2 weeks, and then he's going to take action on day 3? I don't know. I don't know what to make of any of this. I'm just saying there's always more to this than meets the eye. In fact, if you've not read the book, it's worth reading. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. That's worth reading because a lot of that is happening. At least you should be mindful of it when you read headlines and listen to reports on what's happening or potential wars and everything else. Anyway, that's all going on. And it's a crazy time. On top of that, there's things, let me say it this way. There's things we can do about certain things in our lives. There's some things that we have no control over. No control over. Asteroids apparently hurtling in the general direction of Earth, all that. I saw that as well. That doesn't concern me. It really doesn't. But be that as it may, all these things, and if you just live in the news cycle and you're a person that has a fearful disposition or heart, I mean, it's easy to see how people are worried out of their wits. We can't control a lot of this stuff. We can't control what happens between Iran and Israel. We can support our leaders to be strong and to be wise, and we can pray for them. But that's it. We can't directly take an action that's going to change a lot of these things. We can't change the direction that AI is taking in our world. We can demand if it's, called for there to be certain laws, maybe. I'm not a guy that loves new laws, but there could very well be an instance where there needs to be a law pertaining to AI or something else. I don't know. But what I'm saying here is that there's a lot of things that we can't control, I should say, but there are things that we can. And that's why I think, you'll hear people, I've heard people in special forces, and I forget the exact distance. I think it's 6 feet. They think I'm going to control this 6 foot radius around myself. Like this right now, the here and now, one step at a time, this is what I control. And if we really have concerns about these other things, and we understand the importance of people being in positions to make these decisions, to pass laws, to whatever, to oversee the economy, to protect our liberties. A lot of us, in fact, I would say almost every one of you listen know the importance of that. The greatest thing that we can do is understand what the other side is saying, even if we think it's ludicrous and ridiculous, and understand why people are buying into it. There's going to be a certain number of people that are never going to consider anything but the leftist ideology because that is their religion. But there's other people who haven't taken it to that degree of seriousness. They're just drawn to Democrats for some reason. And there's multiple reasons that they could be drawn into the message of the Democrats, whether it's just slick marketing. They don't realize how much propaganda they've been subjected to. Some of them are afraid to oppose these folks who say these things because they don't want the wrath of people in their communities, especially if they're in a blue city. Some people just don't know better. Some people have been raised Democrat. That's an emotional thing as well. I mean, it's hard to expect someone who's a third or fourth generation Democrat to just say, I'm going to vote for Trump. Now, on the one hand, you would say you've got to be an adult and you got to wake up and deal with reality and see that what the Democrats are peddling, those ideas are absolute, utter nonsense. But at the same time, we can have whatever feelings we want to have about it, draw whatever conclusions, but we'd better figure out how to persuade, bring more people over to accept truth and those sorts of things, to understand reality, to respect liberty, to be capitalists. Those things are vitally important, and we're going to have to win them over one at a time. And so we have to understand what they're being told, why they believe what they believe. And so it's with that in mind that I'm going to play this clip from Whoopi Goldberg. I know I say all those things because some of you hate when I play clips from The View. And I personally sometimes hate listening to it. But it does represent what a segment of our society believes. It's insane. It makes no sense. It's delusional. It's living in a fantasy world. But the more that we understand that, the more we can understand how we're going to get through to the people who buy into this stuff. And so it's with that being said, that's where we're headed with Whoopi Goldberg. This was earlier this week. I actually had this earlier in the week, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, but I did not play it because of time, and so I'm going to get to it today. Friends, before I do that, let's face it, there are a lot of companies out there that do not share Christian values with you. The good news, well, you don't have to invest in them. At 48 Financial, they specialize in biblically responsible investing. They will help you screen out companies that go against your faith and your values and create a plan that's tailored to meet your goals and expectations. And they'll handle the heavy lifting so that you can focus on what really matters. Now, do you want to see if your current investments align with your values? Well, if the answer to that is yes, my friends, you'll go to 48financial.com/Todd. 48financial.com/Todd to see what your current investments, if they align with your values. Are you supporting some of these things that you vehemently oppose, my friends? That's one way to do it, is go to figure that out, is to find out what your investments are supporting. 48financial.com/Todd. 48 Financial, because, friends, values matter. And so does your money. 48financial.com/Todd. By the way, the 4 and the 8 are numbers, not spelled out. Anyway, all right. Let's get here to Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, this is crazy stuff what she's saying here. Now, I also know that it is a highly emotional thing for a lot of people because it pertains to race, and it pertains to race, basically. So Whoopi Goldberg is in a debate with Alyssa Farah, and they're talking about life in Iran. One of the things the left, for whatever reason, doesn't want to accept, or doesn't want the American people to know about, is just how terrible the Iranian regime is. They oppress people. They are abusive. It is out of control. They control what women do with their bodies, right? I mean, they tell women you got to be covered head to toe. If not, the morality police are going to round you up and you are going to be basically abused, or maybe even worse than that. And so there's this back and forth where Alyssa Farah is basically saying, the United States gets compared to Iran. And Alyssa Farah basically says it's a lot different to live here than if you live in Iran. And I just want you to listen to what Whoopi Goldberg has to say, because listen, there are people who think this. This is crazy to compare the two in 2025, but this is what some people think. Here you go.
And it's slow.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic
right.
human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
But where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Keep hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto.
Listen, I'm sorry.
Well, they wear like Iranian. No, I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you,
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. It's not good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Not if you're black.
Don't go to Tehran. Do not anyone at this table should go to Tehran.
Let me tell you
about. Pause that. Pause that there. I'm getting to the end of this segment. And so that's what I want to talk about here. So Whoopi's position is that the Iranian women in Iran are treated the same way in their country as black Americans are in their country today in 2025, which is absolutely, she either doesn't know what's happening in Iran, or she is just not good at making comparisons, because these things they're not remotely close. Now, there's, of course, context and things I need to fill in about that, and I'll do that on the other side of the break, because I'm at the end of this segment, my friends. Before I take that break, here's a question for you. Do you know where your money goes after you spend it? That answer makes you cringe or hesitate or pause or a little bit uncomfortable. It's time to check out Freedom Marketplace. We built this platform to connect conservatives like you with businesses that share your values, businesses that refuse to support leftist candidates and leftist causes. It's free to use, my friends. It's all about keeping your dollars aligned with your principles. Visit freedommarketplace.net today. That's freedommarketplace.net. Liberty and business for all, my friends. I've got to take a time out. You are listening here to the home of America's conservative, not bitter talk radio and podcast. I'm your host, the one and only beloved Todd Huff. Back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. Won't even bother you with what's happening here behind the microphone, but everything I think is under control, but never a dull moment, I can assure you of that. So, I want to pick up where we left off last segment, where Whoopi Goldberg says that if you're a black person living here in this great nation today, it is just as the same. It's the same as living in Iran, I guess, especially if you're homosexual or female. And this is applauded. This is applauded by people on the left, people in this audience, because we've been told this for so long. Now, let me be clear. This, again, I hate to even have to say these things, because I don't think that I say this for the left who may be tuning in. I say this for the liberals, not for the conservatives, because I don't have to say this to you, the vast, vast, vast majority of you, because you understand what I'm saying. You understand that whatever your race and ethnicity, whatever, in 2025 in this country, It is not remotely comparable to what people living under the Iranian regime are dealing with, especially women or people who are homosexual or whatever, people who don't fall into line with the Sharia law and the people running the theocratic, which is another thing. These leftists are supposedly all about opposing the separation of church and state, which of course this is clearly the unification of the church and state in Iran. They're also in favor that we just, what is, the month of June is supposed to be what? What is it supposed to be? What is it? Pride Month. So here we are, and now Trump's taken this, dialed this down, basically said there's not going to be federally recognized Pride Month, which to that I say good. But the same people who celebrate Pride Month are also defending a country that executes homosexuals, that throws them off of buildings in cases. I mean, it's crazy to try to make sense of this. Now, what I'm going to say that most of you don't need to hear me say is that historically this country has not treated certain groups of people well, especially people who are black. I mean, this nation had slavery. Slavery is in our history. There's, initially when this country was founded, when they would add up the number of people in a state, they counted people who were black as 3/5 of a person. I mean, this is unconscionable sort of stuff. No one's not a single soul is defending that. And if they are, they have serious problems. A problem of the heart, maybe a problem of the head. No one's out there defending that. That's not the situation living in America as a black person in 2025. We are fooling ourselves into believing that. Now, it's been repeated a bunch, and there are people, individual black people, who have had atrocious things happen to them. But the question, and this is what Whoopi is wrong about. Well, she's wrong about a lot, but one of the things Whoopi is wrong about is what she's saying right here. I'm backing this up. Well, I'm not going to play it because I don't know exactly where she said it. But at one point she said it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who's murdered. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter the person. Meaning, in her mind, it doesn't matter if it's the government that murders people or individuals. Now, in one sense, that's not wrong, right? I mean, if someone's life is taken from them, the result is the same. The result, the person is no longer here. The family and the people that love that person experience all of the grief and the mourning and the loss and all that terrible stuff that comes along with it. In that sense, she's correct. But it is quite different, Whoopi. It is quite different to say that certain violent behavior or execution of individuals is permitted under the law. See, this is the difference. This is one of the differences between someone like me and Whoopi Goldberg. She doesn't see that if the government in Iran justifies what is happening to the people of Iran who are living under their heavy hand. The government in Iran okays the abuse that takes place of people who sometimes only don't properly wear their hijab, their head covering as women. If a part of their ankle is shown, they can be beaten by the morality police. If they don't wear a headscarf, a hijab, then you can, listen, you could face serious consequences for that. There have been women who have risen up and refused to comply with the Sharia and have lost their lives. That is government endorsement of violence against, in this case, women. But it's done with other people as well, anyone who dares to not try to comply with the theocratic, authoritarian rule of the Islamic Republic of Iran. That is a much different scenario than if some lunatic, for example, we had someone about a year ago shot President Trump in the ear, tried to decapitate him with the bullets, with the series of bullets, fired multiple rounds, killing a person in the crowd, in attendance, wounding others. The left told us that was fake, that was orchestrated, that wasn't real, all this sort of stuff. Now, there's a difference between that being something some individual did, and if there's a law on the books that allows that to happen, right? If a president or a candidate for president is endorsing policies, the thing about this, if there was a law like this on the books, presidents or someone running for office is, fair game. You can try to take them out if they are endorsing policies from the podium, from their campaign website, whatever, that you find undesirable. You have a legal right to take them out, like a sort of political purge or something, I guess. That is a much different thing. And that is effectively what's happening in Iran. And Whoopi thinks because she's black, because she's a woman, she can speak. And you hear people say this. That we have to stop and listen to other voices, to marginalized voices. And the more minority groups or quote-unquote marginalized groups that you can put yourself in, the more in the liberal circles that you should be listened to. Listen, folks, I think people should all have the right, of course, to share their thoughts. Whoopi is well within her rights to share this sort of stuff. I'm not going to listen to her anymore just because of her race, gender, ethnicity, none of that stuff. That doesn't make any sense to me. If she wants to earn my attention, if she wants to get me to see things from her perspective, she better think of better ways to articulate her ideas, because candidly, the more she talks, the more it reinforces just how much I disagree with the nonsense coming out of the mouth of one Whoopi Goldberg and people on the left in general. This is what we have to deal with. She says it's the same. It's not the same. In one sense it is. The result is the same. But if you have state-approved violence, brutality, state-approved executions of people who have no business being executed, right, justifiably, that's not the case, which is not the case in Iran, where they're throwing homosexuals off of roofs. And listen, of course you can have an individual grab a person and do that to them. That's called a crime. See, that's the whole point, Whoopi. If something's done against the law, it's called a crime. And then you have to face consequences for breaking the law. So it is different. It's much, much different. But Whoopi says no. And she also says, without saying it, you can't see her facial expressions and her reaction. She put her head in her hands at one point like, why isn't Alyssa listening to me? Because I'm black. I can tell her that the experience of black Americans, this is the thinking of Whoopi Goldberg, is the same as what people in Iran, particularly women, are dealing with. And there's nothing remotely under the sun that makes that even somewhat of an argument to make. So, timeout's in order. Before I do that, though, my friends, taking care of your heart is a critically important thing to do. Many of us think about these things when we're older, but folks, if you're younger, why not get ahead of the curveball here? Start taking a product that's been proven by science to take care of your heart, to lower cholesterol. It might have the same effect on you as well. I take the product. I invite you to check it out and to take it as well. Solty.com is where you can go, SOLTEA, to get your subscription, to get your supply of Solty. And if you use promo code Todd during the checkout process, you're going to save 50%. That's half, my friends, 50%, and get free shipping to boot. Solty.com, promo code Todd. Check it out. Quick time out, my friends. Back in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. This is the final segment of the week. I want to get to as much of this as I can. Jasmine Crockett, leftist Democrat representative from the state of Texas, She's on a podcast interview with Katie Couric. And again, this hour we've talked about trying to understand some of the things that people on the left, liberals, are being subjected to and are believing or are allowing to shape their vision of reality. And we like to just simply know what's being said so that we can be positioned to respond to it. So I want you to listen to this exchange. I'm going to play as much of this as I can, my friends. Jasmine Crockett talking with Katie Couric about Trump supporters, about this country in general. Just check this out.
I want to talk to you about some of the things that are going on in this country,
This is Katie
Jasmine,
Couric, by the
before
way.
you go. What do you think about what has happened in L.A. and calling up the National Guard, the Marines, and basically saying this could happen in every state in our country?
Yeah, if you're not going to cause violence, yeah.
I truly have no words.
She has no words for that. How about quit writing? How about that?
You grow up as a little girl, and you grow up as a little girl in this country. Let me clarify that. And you think, man, this is a great place to live, and it's only going to get better. And then you become the adult version of me, and you have a president that is openly just a criminal, like not just the convictions he's got, consistently breaking laws, ignoring orders, violating the Constitution, and doing it all because he really is seeking this retribution that he campaigned on. He said, "I will be your retribution." And so this idea that we don't care how many people get hurt, we don't care how we prostitute our service members, thinking that you have your own special little army that's for you. I mean, it is.
I mean, this is insane talk coming out of the mouth of a sitting U.S. Congresswoman. First, she just says, well, when I was a little girl, I thought the country was great and it's only going to get better. And then I grew up and I've got a president who's a criminal and who thinks he's got an army that can just do whatever he wants it to do. Well, I mean, in fairness, can't do whatever he wants it to do, but he is the commander-in-chief, Ms. Crockett. The reason that the National Guard had, by the way, did you see that the Ninth Circuit Court, I believe, ruled unanimously that Trump could send the National Guard in, at least for now. That's where we are. That seems to be relevant. That seems to be important in this discussion. But she just starts saying a bunch of things. He's a criminal. He's just, a dictator. He doesn't care about people. That's the narrative, right? This is what they've been told. They've been told this. They on the left have been told this for 10 years now. I'm going to continue playing this.
It's just, it is sick. It is really sick. And anybody that supports it is also sick.
So I'm sick. I'm sick for supporting Trump. That's what she says. She says that we're sick if we support it. We're sick, I guess, if we want our borders secure. I guess we're sick if we want inflation to be brought down from historic highs. I guess we're sick if we believe in reducing the size and scope and cost of our federal government. I guess that's what makes us sick in the minds of this leftist. She continues.
And so, we've got a mental health crisis in this country because everyone, no matter how you affiliate yourself, should be against Trump, period. Okay, this is not partisan for me.
That's
I would
partisan.
give anything to have, sad to say, George Bush. Give me any regular Republican nowadays.
Yeah, the ones
and I would be happy.
Around.
But right now we have someone
government
who does not care, and he is being enabled by the fact that there are, people that follow him and they pump him up, as well as the people that are surrounding him. And so, my heart breaks for service members, people that signed up to protect democracy and freedom, not only here, but abroad, and were willing to risk their lives. And now, literally, the very thing that they signed up to fight against is now their commander-in-chief.
Oh, my goodness. Her heart breaks because they signed up to defend democracy, and now they're fighting against democracy, she claims, by serving a dictatorial president. I mean, this is delusional. This is absolutely delusional. And this is a congresswoman of the United States of America.
It really breaks my heart. And I don't know how far he has to go before we can come together and just say, enough is enough. Like, this should not be partisanship.
It shouldn't be partisan, she said. Shouldn't be partisan. She doesn't see it as partisan. She wishes Bush was the president because she wants to see regular Republicans again. That's what she said. What she really means is she wants to see Republicans that continue to help the effort of growing the government, of increasing spending just like they did. She's happy to see a government or Republicans in place who are not defending constitutionally conservative principles, the Constitution in general, liberty, the border. She wants to see more of the rhinos in office. Folks, I'm out of time. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for listening. SDG.